On SBS Live this week, we welcome Shane Phillip. Now, Shane Phillip's music is kind of a unique animal. He's a one-man show of sorts, not a one-man band. There's a difference, and we'll get into that. And we'll get into all sorts of topics today. We'll find out what makes him tick, we'll find out what drives his music, and we'll find out how he gets it done with only one person. So what keeps Shane Phillip going? Yeah, we want to know too. So tune in for another edition of SBS Live this week, and we'll sort out all those details for you, and we'll get to the bottom of who Shane Phillip really is, if that is in fact his real name. But first, I can feel it coming. I know we've got some clips coming up for you. So let's get to know Shane Phillip in a couple of clips from his YouTube channel here on SBS Live this week. On SBS Live this week, we'd like to welcome unique and talented one-man band that is Shane Phillip. Shane, hey. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Let's say nobody's ever heard your music before.
Okay.
Give us an idea, describe your music from your perspective, and why that would appeal to a random fan.
Well, my music, I mean, every song is quite different, but I would say it definitely has, I've listened to Bob Marley all my life. You know, I listen to Ben Harper, I listen to Jack Johnson, I listen to lots of Australian music.
Okay.
So I think we're all products, like we write the kind of music we listen to. So, you know, my songs would appeal to that crowd, the people that like the reggae, that like the funky reggae and the roots reggae and things like that. So what people would maybe listen to me if they want to experience something like reggae done, but then a didgeridoo thrown in or something like that, and just kind of mayhem out there, you know.
Right.
Being a one-man band, you know.
Absolutely.
I kind of have the freedom to go wherever I want. And like a live show is much different than a recording, though. You know, like I may play a song completely different on a live show, and then the next live show completely different again. So, so if people want to have the unexpected, you know, then they can. I think they'll enjoy that.
So there's lots of different versions of Shane's music out there at the end of the day.
Depending on the mood, yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now you've been putting out albums as Shane Phillip since 2006. How
has it been that long?
It has been that long. We like to do our research here.
Okay.
How has the music changed since then, do you feel?
Well, hopefully I'm getting better. You know, at 2006 I learned how to play the didgeridoo.
Okay.
So, you know, I've been playing a lot since then, and I remember starting out, I would just do nothing but practice until my lips and my gums got sore.
Right.
And now I'm at a point where I don't even play the thing until I'm doing a show or performance, and then I'll play it. So, but you know, hopefully it's evolved. You know, my playing's gotten slightly better. Just starting on the slide back then. Now I've been at it for a few years. So, my technique's improving on all that stuff. So I think as a result, it's giving me a bigger palette for songwriting. So yeah, and I'm expanding on my instrumentation too. Now I'm into the ukulele quite a bit, and that's giving me another voice. It's really cool, actually.
No kidding.
Pick up another instrument, and all of a sudden it opens up this whole territory for songwriting. You know,
absolutely.
Things just come to me, and yeah.
Huh. Yeah, so up until this point, you'd never touched a ukulele. This was kind of like just a brand new experience. And trying to expand, or
when I was in grade 4, I was a mediocre ukulele player. You know, when we were taught. I think we learned how to do like 2 songs in ukulele class that we had once a month.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and we had those, you know, those cheap ukuleles. So I do have experience on the ukulele, but then I left it in grade 4.
Right.
And now I returned to it. So I've taken from where I left off.
Yeah. You probably like to think you've grown a little in between that time period. Eh?
Yeah. So it's not, you know, it's only 4 strings instead of a 6-string guitar. You know?
Right.
So it's 2 less strings to worry about.
Absolutely.
Simplify. That's what I always say.
There you go. As a one-man band, he likes to simplify somehow.
Well, didgeridoo's only 1 note.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's why, I mean, I don't have a lot of notes to worry about, so I can't play the wrong note, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, it is. Well, as a one-man band, I don't like to call it that because that kind of categorizes me as the guy with the cymbal between.
Right. It does sound like the guy with, you know, the monkey and the, you know, accordion beside him, that kind of thing as well, right? So
So what I like to, I like to explain it like I spent a lot of time up north in DC, and I tend to like to live in sort of more remote places, and so not a lot of other bandmates can make practice, or there are not a lot of other people that, you know, bass players or drummers I can just call up and say, hey, let's start a band.
Yeah.
So I found myself in this solo unique position where, you know, if I want to sound kind of like a band, I've got to play all these different instruments, and it just kind of, as an ex-high school teacher, I had access to drum kits and things, so I learned how to play these things that just by default more than anything. So. But as a one-man band, I don't consider it that. I consider it more like a singer-songwriter who happens to want to give different instrumentation to make the song shine in whatever way I can. And sometimes it turns out that it's like every limb is doing something crazy, and there's didgeridoo travelness, and you know, and that's what people see and they're attracted to, I guess, because, you know, hey, one guy's making all that noise.
It is very multifunctional. Yeah, like it's huge.
Sure, but I get just as much satisfaction out of playing acoustic guitar and singing, you know, without any other instruments, because that's you know, some certain songs shine in that element as well. So like one-man band, I don't know.
Now to touch on what you had mentioned there, you used to be a social studies teacher. Right?
Well, that was one of the things that I taught. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I was interested in that because it seems like Canadian history has taken a special part in your music along the way as well.
Only by accident. Only because I found myself in a position where I accepted a job to teach Canadian history, having had 0 experience in Canadian history. Like I'm a PE teacher. I have a degree in kinesiology.
Oh, really?
So I have. Yeah, I mean, I knew nothing about Canadian history, and it was survival for me, man. Like I really had to figure out a way that I could teach this stuff without being bored to death and without boring the kids.
Right.
So I thought, well, like, I play music, and I got inspired by other teachers as well who were into music, and they suggested, you know, why don't we just write songs and put the curriculum to music?
Okay.
So I was like, yeah, it made it fun for me, right? So
at the end of the day, you were able to find some parallels between teaching and music that way, or? Well,
I mean, I just noticed, like, I don't know, like, as a kid, I always remembered things better when they were put to song. Like, I could remember lyrics of songs, even not knowing what they mean, you know, and 20 years later, like, going back to those lyrics and going, oh, that's what those things meant, you know, but I could recite them all my life, but I never really thought about what they meant. And so, like, we remember things, you know, that's just one of our multiple intelligences, is one way we remember things, you know. And so I thought, well, what better way to teach kids, like, all the prime ministers, because they're required to memorize, like, I think the prime ministers of Canada, the Upper Canada Rebellion, the Lower Canada Rebellion.
I couldn't do them now, that kind of thing.
It's strictly memory work, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to make it fun, and the kids really, you know, they latched onto it, and the most rewarding thing is when they're studying for an exam and they're singing their song.
No kidding.
You know, and I can hear them singing it, and it's because it triggers their memory, right?
Right.
So yeah, so it was a survival thing. You know, I never really had a passion for Canadian history.
Right. It wasn't like that was the overall message you were trying to communicate or anything like that.
Oh God. Oh.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I am curious about how do you feel like your albums hold up over time? Like in terms of something like Earthshake, the first album.
Yeah.
How do you feel like going back and listening to that now for you?
Yeah.
How is that experience?
It's quite interesting because I've been playing the songs on Earthshake live for, you know, having not listened to the album and the songs evolving over the, you know, 4 or 5 years, and then going back and listening, going, wow, I played it like that back then. Mm-hmm. And now I'm faced with, hey, that's kind of cool, you know, I don't, you know, maybe I should go back to playing it that way because, you know, that was the original way I did it, and it's evolved into, like, if I recorded that album again right now, it would be a completely different album. Totally different, eh? Not better, just different, you know, and that's, so, you know, I think that it's quite exciting to go back and listen to it, and I'm finding that people always like the first album of an artist, it seems, eh?
Well, I mean, what's the old adage? The old adage is the entire lifetime to make your first and 2 weeks to make your second, right? Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if you feel the same way for that, but
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you know, all the best is in the first few songs, but I don't know, but I also think I've matured since then and this and that, but going back to the first album, it's really fun for me to listen to that and then try to, you know, play the songs the way I used to. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's neat to see how things evolve over time, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So now, on these older albums that you had, again, I'm a music hound. You had about 15 tracks an album for the first couple.
Yeah.
And then on your latest one, Life, Love, Music.
Yep.
And there's only 12. So I'm curious if that is that an indication of Shane Phillip maturing and editing more, or is this
maybe
what hit the cutting room floor on this one?
Well, just because a different producer for the album, really, he just you know, Joby was saying, you know, most people's attention spans, you know, for albums are good for about 45 minutes to 50 minutes, you know, and the album I did before that with Corin was, I think it was over an hour. It was a long one. In the moment, it was quite a long album, and you know, reading the reviews on the album, a lot of people said this is a very ambitious album, and so I got the sense that maybe it was a bit too long. So I thought I would keep it a little bit more concise, you know, to shorten it. You know, who knows if that's going to be my trend for the next album or not? But I tend to be long-winded. Like my shows tend to go on forever. So
okay. What can somebody expect from a Shane Phillip performance live? You were voted best live act this year in 2012.
They're sitting there. And it's a theater type performance. They're going to get a lot of the singer-songwriter oriented stuff. So, and I love that. You know, I love it when people are listening and they're there just to hear the music, and I can really kind of focus on my perforthance.
That pin drop kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, well, it changes the way you play, you know. And if it's a bar and people are dancing and they're out there at a party, you know, I can rise to that, and I love it. And I focus on different people that are into dancing, and I almost play to them, you know, and we kind of make the music together in a way. It's like a back and forth thing, and there's a certain joy that I get from that too.
Absolutely.
And, it's like, you know, it's an adrenaline rush, right? And then that's the kind of thing that those kind of shows go on forever, because, you know, I just want to keep going, and I never get tired. I just want to, you know, try and explore different ways and mess with the crowd, slow it down, speed it up, and so it's kind of like a big church, you know. It's like everybody doing everything together, you know. It's not like just me entertaining, whereas a live show where people are sitting down, it's more me entertaining. So it's a different vibe.
And so how do these shows that are going on for forever, how do they end? Is somebody grabbing the hook and dragging you off stage, or how does it?
No, I mean, I say forever, but you know, I know when it's time. When you know, once I start getting the lactic acid in my arms and I can't escape, I know it's okay. It's been a couple hours. People are going to want to, or if everybody leaves on me, I know it's time to stop.
Look down, see the blood on the fingertips, and it's time to start going, eh?
Yeah, but a lot of times I'll end like. Lately, what I've been doing, depending on the venue, it's nice to end with a didgeridoo. So I get everybody lying on the ground, and then I'll didge.
Really?
Turn the lights out.
Okay.
You know, if there's 200 people lying on the ground, it's amazing.
No kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just turn the lights out and do nothing but just didge, and then
really,
or just and a lot of performers like to end on a real high, and sometimes that's cool, but it's also cool to finish a night where everybody's leaving grounded.
Or just a completely different experience, which I mean, that sounds like that's not something I've ever experienced at a concert before. So
it's pretty powerful, eh?
I would think, yeah.
And then what I tell people to do is after I do the didging, where they're just lying there, and they may not know the person they're very intimately lying next to, but when they're finished, when I finished, I ask them to just kind of don't cheer, don't hoot and holler, just lie there and experience the silence, and that's just as powerful as the power of the didgeridoo drone. Right?
For sure.
So that's a pretty neat way to end a show. I like doing it that way.
Yeah.
And people just go out of it like feeling like they've had a bit of a didge healing session.
Yeah. Now you also answered a question for us earlier without even knowing, but we were going to do the whole tomato thing. Is it didgeridoo or didgeridoo? And it's didgeridoo, eh?
Didgeridoo, yeah. I always shorten it to didge. I mean, that's our, I guess, a westernized version. That's the name that we give it. Like they call it, I think, yidaki.
Oh, really?
In Australia, yeah. I don't know a lot about the roots of it. Yeah. Yeah, it's the Aboriginals call it yidaki, and then white man came along and they kind of makes the didgeridoo sound. So
I guess that's right. Yeah, phonetics.
Yeah.
As far as what goes on to an album for you, Shane, what qualities do you look for in your own tracks? What makes it an album track and not hit the cutting room floor?
Yeah, that's something I've been trying to figure out for every single album I do, because I'm struggling to be consistent with my sound, because one song could be completely different from the other song, completely. And I used to think that was a great thing, to have every song kind of different.
Right.
So a listener would be experiencing a completely different vibe every song. But then there's the other side of it, in that if somebody puts on an album, like if you put on a Jack Johnson album, it's pretty much going to have the same flow. Yeah, there's a continuity there, or Ben Harper, or whatever, there's going to be a certain continuity there. And so now I'm starting to think, well, maybe I should, like this new album I'm working on, I'm trying to come to terms with it, because it's more rootsy, it's more acoustic instruments, like I'm staying away from the amplifiers and stuff. I'm just doing it as if I could do it on a beach.
Right, okay.
So now I've written all these singer-songwriter type songs, and that's what this is how I usually do it. I'll write all the main songs, and then I'll do the didgeridoo drum stuff.
Right.
That comes easier to me. It's more of a live performance, a jam situation, right?
Okay,
when I do those, I don't really write them. But in this case now, I'm wondering, gee, what should I do? Like, because I've got all these singer-songwriter, and if I throw didgeridoo and drum craziness in it, it's going to take the cohesiveness of the album away. So now I'm starting to think, well, maybe I'll almost make it like a double album, like make that as a singer-songwriter, and then put a second disc in there that's just didgeridoo and drums and sort of craziness that way. So. So I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Well, the bottom line is there's lots of music coming down the pipe.
There's lots of music, and I like all kinds of music, right? So I definitely touch on different styles.
How is it that you keep your music organic and separate from those? Like, how is it that you stop them from bleeding into what you do too much?
Boy, I mean, we can't, right? I think, like I said earlier, I think we're products of what we listen to all our life, right? And so to be really honest, I don't listen to a ton of music. Like I don't always have my stereo on. I'm not always checking out the latest, G-Love stuff, and like I know it's out there, and I listen to it from time to time. But there's a certain bliss in being a bit ignorant as to what's popular and what's out there.
Absolutely.
So I tend to, be a little bit more original that way. Or, try not to think too much about it.
Now, you touched on the one-man band thing.
Okay.
Now, I'm curious as to, you've got a show coming up tomorrow. At the Living Room in Squamish. Party. There we go. You're looking forward to this. And I'm assuming it's going to be a party, because also on this bill is a DJ.
Is a DJ.
Now, I'm curious, because when you look at clips of yourself online, it looks like electronic kind of anything might be something you would either push away from or not really have too much to do with. Is that a misperception, or is that...
I think if you go to a show, like some people come up to me after a show and they go, man, it was just like a one-man rave. Because there is a certain techno element to what I do with the drums, and I've got an electronic drum that I play as well. So it's I don't loop though. I do everything live, but still there's that element of techno in there, and the didgeridoo kind of creates that drone, right?
Absolutely.
So I think you know, and I got hired to play at Shambhala because of that. You know, I played Shambhala
Right.
because I had that element, and so, you know, I just kind of, I just pushed those elements when I'm at those kind of shows, and so
Sure, yeah.
I have a DJ opening. I mean, there's practical reasons too. Like, I take up a lot of real estate when I'm there.
Right.
I'm 8 by 8. You know, I take
Absolutely.
up an entire stage.
Yeah.
So for another band to come on, it's pretty much, you know, unless it's a huge stage, how are they going to set up drums and all their stuff? So would I, you know, basically DJ or a single acoustic singer-songwriter would
Right.
be the perfect opener or whatever.
It's a real estate logistical thing as well.
Oh yeah, there's
Yeah.
practical reasons, but also if it's the right DJ, they can really, you know, they can enhance what I'm doing too.
Sure.
Because they, you know, a lot of the world-oriented. I did a bit with a guy named Adam Shake, and that was really fun out in Ecuador, and we played together and stuff because our music has a lot of things in common.
Right.
You know, with that world sound. You know. So.
Where has your music taken you world-wise? You seem to have had a lot of world travel under your belt.
Not a ton. You know,
Not a ton?
I want to do a lot more. That States and South America, Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'd love to go to Australia. I've never been to Australia.
Right.
You know, and that's
So
one of
you
those
listen to a lot of Australian music, you were saying.
Yeah, and I used to listen to a lot of djembe from Africa. I've never been to Africa, and
Right.
you know, and I think that traveling is so important. I think that music could be a really good vehicle for me to get some more traveling in. But at the same time, it's a fine line because I have a family. I've got a 3-year-old boy.
Right.
You know, and so I can't be away too long, or else I miss out on that. So
Absolutely.
So like
Yeah.
everything in life, it's a balancing act, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your 3-year-old boy, sorry, the name?
Sorry, Aiden.
Aiden?
Yeah.
Aiden? Have you ever taken Aiden with you on any, or has he seen you play live yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
It's fun when he comes to a
I
show.
would bet, yeah.
Yeah, if it's the, you know, because, you know, people, you know, they definitely accept the fact that he's going to come up on the stage and you know, during sound check, he loves it. He check,
Right.
And the microphone, I turn up the delay so he hears himself all over the place, and it's awesome, yeah.
That's perfect.
And he loves just banging on the drums. And
So
any chance he gets.
this wasn't just completely for the purpose of having a sound man later on. This wasn't the reason for children, was it?
Well, no, that's a good point. He could be, you know, yeah, who knows what kind of drummer he's going to be. Like, he's always banging on things.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
But you can see that musical element is already in him, eh?
I think so.
Yeah. If I was an average fan, if
Oh.
I you know, wanted to talk to Shane Phillips somehow, is there a way to reach you? Is there?
Oh, easy, yeah. Like I'm almost too accessible. Like I do my own Facebook, you know. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anything that's done on Facebook, I do it myself.
Right.
And or Twitter. Not that I love doing it, but I know it's a necessary thing, you know, for the
Absolutely.
marketing, and it's something I actually know how to do, you know, and so I can do that.
Right.
Or if you email me, or if you email, a lot of times if you email, it just happens to be that Lisa talked to you, or you know, but it could have easily just as well been me,
Okay.
and then I would have said talk to Lisa about that.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Make sure I'm here at this time.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, on your main site, on the Shane Phillips site itself, I was surprised that the one element it didn't have, which is featured on, and I can't remember the other site, Sonic something.
Sonic Bids?
Sonic Bids.
Yeah.
It is on the Sonic Bids site, but it's not on the Shane Phillips site. Is your bio?
There's no bio on there?
There's no bio on your main site.
Oh, I should.
So I mean, people
I'm
out
gonna
there
talk
right
to those
now.
bio people.
You gotta, and
Yeah.
people out there right now, you can't see them, but they're in there.
Maybe.
Those people are curious. What are you hiding? What is it that you don't want us to know, or what is it that who are you? Is your name really Shane?
Sometimes well, you know, some days, yeah. Sometimes I'm trying to figure out who I am too. There's no bio on there. No, I didn't know that.
It is on the Sonic Bid site for the record.
Oh, okay,
You know,
good.
but yeah.
For the record.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
You know, it's because I'm out there and I'm scouring. You know,
You
and I was
know-
like, where's this bio? I got to learn about this.
I should
guy.
go to my website someday. That's one thing I haven't done. Like,
Yeah,
I go to
really?
my Facebook, my Twitter, but I go to my website once a year or something like that. So
Right.
I should check that out.
Yeah.
I would thought for sure that
It's good. It's got lots of info. It tells me about your upcoming shows. You've got was it the Penticton Art World Exhibition Art Fair.
The end of the world party.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
The end of the world party?
Yeah.
Holy. Okay. I didn't know about that.
I hope it's not really the end of the world, because
yeah.
I'm trying to book a show the next day. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could mess
run
that
into
up.
some problems if that was the case. Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Shane Phillip for dropping by SBS Live this week. Great talk, great information. I think we learned a lot about Shane, and I think that we all know now that Even as one person, you can still go after it, and you can still go get it. Music is definitely possible for all of us. Shane proves it every day by going out there to do it on his own. So be sure to check out more of his music, www.shanephillip.com, and by all means check us out further at www.sleepingbagstudios.ca. Whatever you do yourself a favor and don't miss the second half of what Shane Phillip has to say. He's back here with us again on SBS Live this week for part 2 of the Shane Phillip interview. Stay tuned and don't miss it, and check back often to see what else we've got going here on SBS Live this week and happening here at Sleeping Bag Studios. We'll see you then.